Hey folks, back again to talk to you about Gravity Falls. This is Season 1, Episode 7, Double Dipper. This was another good one. I really enjoyed this one. Once again, it split Dipper and Mabel off into separate plots, which seems to be a thing that works well for this show. And they were both... for Mabel, we had a relatively novel plot, something we haven't really seen before, of basically her wanting an opportunity to make friends and getting into a bit of a rivalry with Pacifica Northwest, who came across as basically the classic mean girl. And I really like that plot, both for how much it reveled in its cliches, like when Mabel calls for an 80s power ballad. Like, she obviously has seen these movies, you know, and she knows exactly how this is supposed to play out, and she's playing along. I also really liked Mabel's two new friends, you know, the town's geek crowd, I guess. And, excuse me, in particular, I enjoyed the one that was voiced by BMO. Because voiced by BMO. I don't know BMO's voice actress's actual name, but it was clearly the same voice, and that was just fun. Also, the character was just fun, you know, human improvement with the forks on her fingers, you know. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed also Mabel's little dance, where she was flopping across the floor. I forget what that dance move is called. But it was, again, very 80s, because the whole thing was very 80s teen movie. And, you know, best of all for me was actually that Pacific Northwest still won. Because in any 80s teen movie ever, she would lose. You know, Mabel would win somehow. And that's not how it works. You know, especially, like, they're 12, junior high aged. No. The popular mean kids, the bullies, they don't get theirs for years. You know, middle school is still, you know, the jungle. And it's still the realm over which Pacifica Northwest has her power. And that'll last up through the teenage years. It's really not until you start getting past high school that that starts to change. Unless, of course, you're one of those people who is stuck forever in high school, which tends to happen to two groups of people. In my experience, it tends to happen either to the people who are on top or the people who are on the bottom. You know, pretty much the only people who still divide the world into geeks and jocks in their 20s are geeks. And other than that, you know, the kid who ruled the high school and carries on the same behaviors into 20s, 30s, so on, is a classic type of loser. And that's really where Pacifica Northwest is heading. You know, she's going to be queen bee of the high school, and then, depending on how much money her family's got, she's going to, by her 20s, be either, you know, trash or debutante. You know, people who, you know, there's always a possibility, of course, that she will reform and become better, but not in a TV show. You know, she's got a destiny of being a loser, and it's really only a question of which type she becomes. While Mabel, who is fun and creative and interesting, people are going to love Mabel when she inevitably ends up at art school. You know, and she's going to be really popular in her 20s. And then you've got Dipper's plotline, which at first I was kind of about, but as it went on I started enjoying it more and more because, well, as they point out at the end, it's about how Dipper gets in his own way. quite literally in this episode, but just in general, he gets in his own way. He's so determined to plan everything, to take the risk out of everything, because he's scared, that he ends up, well, taking no risks, and always playing it safe. The peak of my was when he had a little fantasy about Wendy dancing with Johnny? Is that his name? I think it's Johnny. Whatever it is. Dancing with Johnny and saying something along the lines of, you're a jerk, but I like you anyway because you can play the guitar. And, of course, that's, the thing I've been worried about with Dipper is that they'll go the nice guy syndrome route without criticizing it. And that's the classic nice guy syndrome thing. Oh, yeah, you define someone as a jerk because they're dating the woman that you fixated on. That's your evidence that they're a jerk. And then you say, well, women only ever date jerks. Well, yes, if you define everyone who is dating a woman as a jerk, then it follows that women only date jerks. The problem is not with women, it is with you. Because you have chosen to define everyone who dates a woman as a jerk. Because it's your excuse. You've become fixated on a method that doesn't work. You've decided to treat dating as a quest or a competition. You've come up with a strategy, and when that strategy doesn't work, you blame others. Congrats. And the problem is that a lot of that is rooted in the fact that our entertainment frequently portrays the strategy as working. And it does portray, there's the jerk and the nice guy, and the girl is always dating the jerk at first, but then the nice guy eventually wins her over. Generally, no. Yes, sometimes a woman dates someone who turns out to be a jerk. Sometimes a man dates someone who turns out to be a jerk. Even more often, when we break up with people, it is because of fighting with them, and so to us they appear to be jerks, because all of our recent memories of them are of them either being angry at us or making us angry at them. But nobody goes, oh, that person is a jerk, I'm going to date them. That's just not how it works. So, but also, nobody ever goes, oh, that person is nice, I'm going to date them. No. It's not enough for, niceness is the bare minimum of human interaction. It's not enough to justify, being nice is enough to get you allowed in the room. If you're not nice, people aren't going to hang around you at all. It's not enough to justify dating someone, though, because, hey, guess what? Most people are nice. It's not special. Now, what gets in Dipper's way, the reason Johnny is successful where Dipper isn't is A, Johnny is the same age as Wendy, and thus she perceives him as someone dateable, while she does not perceive Dipper that way, because Dipper is a child, not a teenager. And that's completely legitimate, and even Dipper recognizes at the end of the episode that that's an issue he very likely can't overcome anywhere in the near future. But also, it's him that gets in his way. It's his own fear of talking to her. It's his own decision to treat it like something that has to be strategized and fretted over, and he has to make lists and plans, when really he should just go up and talk to her. And look, I've got serious social anxiety issues. I find it extremely difficult to just go up and talk to someone. Strangers, people I've known for years, good friends, doesn't matter. I find it very difficult to initiate an interaction with someone because anxiety. We've seen no evidence that Dipper has that problem. This is just normal jitters when you like someone, especially when you're young and don't have experience in these things. But the point is, nobody owes you anything. If you aren't, I don't care if your jitters are because you're young or because you've got serious social anxiety or whatever, like, I'm not going to sit around complaining that, people don't psychically understand that I would like to talk to them. If I cannot bring myself to make that move, then it's not going to happen. That's just how it works. That's life. And, Dipper sort of seems to be getting that by the end of the episode, Like I said, the whole thing with the copies, which were very funny, by the way. It's an old joke, the copy machine that makes duplicates. I think my favorite iteration of it is in the Earthworm Jim cartoon, which was brilliant and virtually impossible to find because its creator hates it. But it's a good gag. It's a good old gag, and it's not overused. And again, it was useful. I liked how all the different Dippers got along at first, how they really did all participate in the plan together, because when it comes down to it, they all want to succeed. But then they start getting in their own way, because they're insistent on sticking to this plan, when it's clear that a different approach works better. Being actually open and honest and going with the flow instead of, strategizing and systemizing. But, I fully imagine there's going to be a lot more of Dipper being hesitant to approach Wendy. Even with this lesson, that doesn't mean it's easy to do. And I appreciate that, especially when you're 12. And the fact of the matter is, there's really only two possible outcomes, which is that he crushes on her for the entire summer and nothing ever comes of it, which is how most crushes work when you're 12, especially on someone older. Or he does eventually work up the nerve to ask her out, and she shoots him down. Because let's face it, he's 12 and she's 15. That's rare as hell in real life, and just straight up not gonna happen on a TV show because it's a little squicky. It's not as squicky as 12 and 20, obviously, but they're still, 12, yeah, it's only a 3-year gap, but those are a pretty significant 3 years. He's probably either just, in the summer after 7th grade or the summer before 7th grade. She's in high school? Probably a sophomore? Yeah, no. That's just no. And realistically speaking, again, knowing that this is a show, I just don't see it as very likely that the shooting down will happen. Or that if it does happen, that it will, that Dipper will actually move on by the end of the show. I think it's very likely that Dipper crushing on Wendy is going to be a, settled element of this show that never goes anywhere. And that is a danger. So I'm glad that they kind of address this whole, you get in your own way, it's your own, you have, you being Dipper. Dipper has chosen to fixate on this one girl. He's crushing on her, and he's getting his own way, and he knows it. And he also probably knows that it's really not going to happen, and that's why he's getting in his own way. Odds are very good that, if he asks her to dance, she'll laugh. Because it's absurd, a 12-year-old asking a 15-year-old to dance. So he does get in his own way, because the alternative would be for her to shoot him down, which could easily turn the audience against her. So we're going to get an eternity of him getting in his own way. And there's really, that kind of long-lasting crush very easily, in a show, crosses over into the standard cliches that I was talking about earlier, from which a lot of nice guy syndrome derives from those cliches. So it's good to see the show really early on. This is really only the second episode that has dealt with his crush on her, saying basically, no, Dipper is getting in his own way. Dipper is, insofar as there is a problem, Dipper is the problem. And I appreciate that. Because, yeah, really, he is. Wendy is doing nothing wrong. Johnny is doing nothing wrong. It's not to say that Dipper is doing something wrong. Like, he's not engaged in anything immoral or anything. He's got a crush. He's got, trying to figure out how to deal with it, and he's only 12. But it could very easily cross over into something that's wrong if he starts, if he goes down the nice guy route, if he starts, doing lots of stuff for Wendy with an expectation of something in return that he has never made clear to her, and he starts getting, angry about her not holding up her side of a bargain she never made, then that would be a problem. And so, again, I'm glad that they're kind of saying straight from the outset, no, the problem is in Dipper's mind. The problem is that Dipper is crushing on someone he almost certainly can't have, and so he's putting obstacles in his own way for engaging with her. Anyway, yeah, it was a really fun episode, and got some good laughs out of me. I really liked, like I said, BMO, whatever that girl's name is in the show. I hope those girls return. I hope we get Mabel having adventures with her weird friends. I actually hope Pacifica Northwest returns, because the mean girl is a fun thing to explore. And it'd be cool for Mabel to have a rival. And especially with the way Mabel is just so cheerful about it. The way she just utterly refuses to participate. She participates in the competition, but she's having fun with it. Whereas for Pacifica, it's deadly serious. And that's going to be great, because that's going to make Pacifica just hate Mabel more and more and more, because Mabel is never going to stop having fun with it. Mabel is never going to take it completely seriously the way Pacifica does. And that is a power that Mabel has over Pacifica. So I would love to see Pacifica returning as that kind of, sort of childish nemesis kind of a thing. And yeah, so good episode. I was about to say it had surprisingly little of the supernatural about it, but there was the copy machine. So yeah. Good stuff. I hope we get more good stuff, especially stuff like the Mabel plotline. But I feel like we're overdue for something, more of the, something more like the haunted convenience store episode. Something where it's like the strangeness of the town, stumbling onto a mystery kind of a thing. But we'll see. Either way, I'm enjoying it. I'm likely to continue enjoying it. And I'll see you all next time with another vlog. Bye!